Hello everyone. After 10 years, Texas Instruments has finally released the successor to the TI-84 Plus CE. TI says it's a complete evolution of the TI-84 line and thus dubbed it the TI-84 Evo. In many ways, it is a significant change, but perhaps in order to differentiate it from the Inspire lineup, TI made some baffling design decisions. While the TI-84 Evo feels more like a very polished TI-84 Plus CE, is it worth the $10 price increase to $160? The box touts that this calculator is allowed on all the same standardized tests as the TI-84 Plus CE. It comes with a free 4-year access to the online version of this calculator, finally USB-C charging. TI hasn't officially committed to a certain amount of updates for the TI-84 Evo, but based on their excellent record of updating the TI-84 Plus CE and Inspire CX, I expect this calculator will receive updates for at least 8 years. Lastly, we see the Evo has a new model of rechargeable battery and 3 times the processing power? This is backed up by the stats on the back. The processor speed is 156 MHz, which for a calculator is very quick. The graphing area is also significantly larger. There's a bit more storage for programs, and a new font. I have to call out some misleading points though. It is true that the standard TI-84 Plus CE does not support Python. However, TI is actively selling the TI-84 Plus CE Python, which does support Python. Quick update, TI is starting to discontinue the TI-84 Plus CE Python in favor of just selling the TI-84 Plus CE for now. It looks to me like TI couldn't articulate that the TI-84 Evo has a better Python experience, so they decided to avoid mentioning the TI-84 Plus CE Python entirely. The other inaccurate claim is that the TI-84 Plus CE does not support STEM accessories. However, TI has already created and advertised many TI-84 Plus CE STEM accessories, including the TI Innovator, Rover, and Vernier Scientific equipment. I think TI just needed filler points to make the Evo look more different on paper. The only remaining points are continued OS support, which likely means the TI-84 Plus CE won't receive any more updates, which is pretty disappointing for anyone who just bought their TI-84 Plus CE. Finally, icon navigation, which we'll get to. At first glance, the outside of the TI-84 Evo looks identical to its predecessor, but there's a few tweaks. The faceplate is contiguous, and some colors are significantly more textured, which feels a little weird. Other colors are the normal matte or glossy finish. The keys are much larger to account for the secondary text. More importantly though, TI has adjusted the key layout for the first time in 30 years. The apps button has been replaced by the fraction button, the on button now has a home icon, the exponent key has been moved to where the x to the -1 key was. There's an undo clear feature, and there's now a dedicated decimal to fraction button. But don't get too excited because this can only do basic decimal to fraction conversions. Overall, the larger keys are a bit less stable and require slightly less force to actuate them than the TI-84 Plus CE. However, they still feel just as nice to type on and have identical travel. I was able to adjust to them within just a few hours. What you may not be able to adjust to is the battery life. TI is using the same 1200 mAh battery they've been using in the TI-84 Plus CE and Inspire calculators since at least 2011. It's a newer model, so it shouldn't have the same boot looping issues that plagued the TI-84 Plus CE. In my battery stress test, the TI-84 Plus CE lasted just over 26 hours, and the Evo got less than half of its predecessor at 12 hours. The Evo and CE both charged in about 4 hours, which means despite the upgrade to USB-C, TI didn't upgrade the charging speed from 2.5 watts. That was considered slow even when the TI-84 Plus CE was released in 2015. Nowadays, most phones charge at least 7 times faster at least 18 watts. It's absolutely possible to put faster charging in a calculator because one of TI's competitors already did it in the Zero ZGC4. It has very similar hardware to the TI-84 Evo, but it was released a year earlier and cost $115. It also has a faster ARM processor and software that resembles the TI-84 style. The ZGC4 has nearly double the battery capacity, so it lasts about as long as a TI-84 Plus CE. Zero additionally implemented 3 times faster USB-C charging at 7.5 watts, which charges the larger battery in less time at 1 hour and 45 minutes. I bring this up because the Evo's box boasts that this calculator will be prepared for exams. If the TI-84 Evo is dead on exam day, it takes 15 minutes to get an hour's worth of charge, which is just too long during an already stressful time. On the other hand, Zero's faster charging only takes 5 minutes to get an hour's charge. Being able to quickly juice up the calculator right before an exam is a huge benefit for Zero that I wish TI had followed. Now that the calculator is fully charged, let's turn it on. You'll see a very different boot screen than the TI-84 Plus CE. This is because TI completely rewrote the operating system for this new processor. You'll only get this screen when the calculator hasn't been turned on for a while, typically about a day. Once it's on, you're taken to the brand new apps menu instead of the calculations screen. This screen can always be accessed by pressing the home button. The home button will toggle between the app screen and the last app you used. If you intentionally turn off the calculator, you'll be taken to the app screen when you turn it back on. If the calculator falls asleep on its own, you'll be taken right back where you left off. To quickly access an app, you can press on the number pad. For example, pressing 1 opens the calculation screen. Pressing 2 opens the graphing app, and so on. The display we're looking at is the same 320 by 240 pixel resolution as last generation, and most other color calculators. The viewing angles are just as good as the CE, which is to say excellent from the top and bottom, but on side to side the colors start to lose some contrast. Text remains very readable though. The new screen does get 65% brighter than the CE at roughly 330 nits. For reference, a mid-range laptop gets around 400 nits, and most modern phones advertise over 1000 nits. It's plenty bright enough for indoor use and tolerable outdoors despite its glossy screen. The minimum brightness is also slightly brighter than the TI-84 Plus CE's minimum brightness. Unfortunately, there's no dark mode, which makes late night math less pleasant. The CE has an unofficial dark mode, and many of TI's competitors also offer dark mode. Despite the lack of dark mode, I must say I love the new theme the calculator uses. It's very familiar and I got used to it instantly. The app screen brings all the major features of the calculator directly to the student's face that would otherwise have been hidden in a menu, such as the numerical solver. Other calculators like Numworks, Casio, HP, and even TI's own Inspire all have similar app screens. Not all the apps from the TI-84 Plus CE are present on the Evo, but I expect most will be added in future updates. Although it's the last app, the first one I want to show is the Help app, which is a built-in quick start guide the TI-84 Plus CE doesn't have. Both calculators do have built-in help for specific functions though. The first app in the list takes you to the new calculation screen. It feels like a more polished version of the TI-84 Plus CE's calculation screen. The font lets you see more entries at once, and the text has different colors now. The cursor defaults to insert mode instead of overwrite mode, which should be more familiar to, well, anyone who types. The delete key now functions like a backspace key, which takes some getting used to. But as for the calculation engine, TI Planet measured the precision of the calculator is just as good as its predecessor at 14 significant digits. The maximum matrix size has increased from 20 by 20 to 99 by 99, and complex matrices are also supported. Like the TI-84 Plus CE, this calculator does not have CAS or an exact math engine, so the decimal to fraction button only works on basic decimals and can't show answers in terms of square roots or pi. The second app is the Graphing app. It can still be accessed by the y equals key and the graph key, and again, it looks like a more polished version of the TI-84 Plus CE. It can graph the same number of Cartesian, polar, and parametric equations. However, entering equations has been slightly improved with the inclusion of full-screen equation editing. This lets you see far more of an equation at once. The line shape and colors are all the same though. A large change is the graph format options. They've been completely redesigned and I love the new layout. Here's where you'll notice a legitimately new useful feature. POI, or point of interest detection. This means as you use the trace function, the calculator will automatically snap to locations you might want to know, such as X and Y intercepts and intersections with other graphs. On the TI-84 Plus CE, you needed to go through a 3-step process for every point. Oh, did I mention the dumb margins around the graph screen are gone? TI is finally allowing full screen graphing. Well, nearly full screen. It seems that for symmetry reasons, there's a single column of pixels on the right that's unused. That's why TI advertises the odd graphing resolution of 209 by 319. Skipping ahead on the apps list, the Connects app on the calculator now also lets you graph circles and other shapes alongside your regular equations, whereas before the shapes were trapped in a separate graphing screen. Unfortunately, when it comes to graphing speed, TI appears to have intentionally kept it slow. A retired TI engineer clarified that TI chooses their graphing speed based on teacher feedback. While slow graphing can be good for learning, when it's time to take an exam, the last thing I want as a student is to wait around for my calculator to graph. The best solution would be to add an option to toggle between slow and fast graphing. The 0ZGC4 already has this option and can graph instantly using a processor that's only 60% faster. You can speed up graphing on all TI's color calculators by disabling Detect Asymptotes, but then you may get artifacts on some graphs. When TI's competition like Numworks, Zero, Desmos, and even TI's own Inspire lineup offer instant graphing, I don't see a reason why the Evo shouldn't. TI's speed restricting doesn't just affect graphing. In fact, it seems to be hampering the device in random places. For example, this summation is slower than the TI-84 Plus CE, while this one is faster? When running a simple counting program, the display command is faster, but the output command is significantly slower. This means that despite the fancy 3 times faster processor, I've only seen the Evo get up to 70% faster than its predecessor. And I've also seen it be as slow as 15% slower. Going back to the app screen though, the third app lets you edit lists, and the fourth app is the Settings app, which can also still be accessed by pressing Mode. The Evo has added support for gradients, but it's removed a few features, most notably the clock. The clock was quite terrible at keeping time on the TI-84 Plus CE, but I would have liked to see TI make the clock functional rather than remove it. The hardware does support a clock, so this may be added in a future update. The Stat Wizard option is removed and is now permanently on. The next 3 apps are equation solvers, which function similarly to the TI-84 Plus CE. The Finance app is even less changed. The next 3 apps expand the graphing capabilities. The Transformation app lets you move graphs around, the Inequality app lets you graph using greater or less than operators, and the Connects app lets you easily draw various plots, including ellipses. Only one of these 3 apps can be active at once, and the active one is notated by this red dot. If a teacher doesn't want a student to access a certain app, they can either delete it from the calculator or enable exam mode by holding the left and right arrow keys while turning the calculator on. Finally, we get the coding, and this is a mixed bag. The Evo uses TI Basic and a proprietary MicroPython. It does not support assembly programming, which is what gives the TI-84 Plus CE all its advanced math features, games, and dark mode. There's no news if a jailbreak will be created. You can either code TI Basic and Python directly on the calculator, or code on a computer and transfer the files using the charging cable. TI has replaced the old transfer tool called TI Connect CE with a web-based transfer tool that only works with the TI-84 Evo and on Chrome. Thankfully, you don't even need to do that if you just use WebTilp, which was created by the calculator community. It supports nearly every TI calculator and can even work offline. Another quirk of the Evo is that it can't accept any TI-84 Plus CE files. This breaks a 20-year streak of files being mostly backwards compatible with older TI-84 models. TI doesn't provide any conversion tools. However, the community members on TI Planet and Chemitech have already created their own. These are websites I've personally used and trusted for over 9 years. I'm not much of a Python coder, but I do know the Python implementation is light years better than the TI-84 Plus CE Python. The feature set is greatly expanded. It's much faster and there's far more memory accessible. It's one of the reasons why TI decided to go with an ARM processor in the first place. Speaking of the processor, I want to see it for myself. First, we remove the battery, then we'll remove these 2 Phillips screws and these 6 Torx T6 screws. Then just pry the case open. This is the same process as the TI-84 Plus CE. On the inside, we can see the 3 times faster processor powered by an ARM chip. This is the same architecture that's powering your phone, just at a much slower speed. This chip replaces the 25-year-old EZ80 from the TI-84 Plus CE. We can also see a significant bump to RAM and a slight increase to archive storage. Oddly, although this calculator has a 16 MB storage chip, TI only lets you access 3.5 MB. Nobody is sure why TI is reserving so much storage, since the OS and apps don't take up nearly that much space. Also, deleting apps no longer gives you that storage back, and the only way to reinstall them is to reinstall the OS. Repairability isn't great. Although the battery is easy to remove and the screen is also removable, TI only sells replacement batteries and rubber feet. At $160, the TI-84 Evo is in a strange place. It's a good calculator, but it has some tough competition even in TI's own lineup. The biggest improvement over the TI-84 Plus CE is the Python support. However, the TI Inspire CX2, which is a mere $5 more, offers a more complete Python coding experience, including a dedicated keyboard for typing. The Inspire also offers a consistent major performance improvement, instant full-screen graphing, and sometimes a jailbreak for running programs. If you don't need a Texas Instrument calculator, then Xero, Numworks, or Casio would be alternative brands to consider. If Python coding doesn't matter to you, then I just can't recommend the Evo right now. The lovely facelift just can't make up for the missing apps, inconsistent performance, weak battery life, poor backwards compatibility, and the few meaningful new features. The TI-84 Evo feels like the TI-84 Plus CE Python evolved sideways instead of forward. Keep in mind that a used TI-84 Plus CE can be had for a fraction the price of a TI-84 Evo, and those who are tight on money can watch the video above where I compared every TI-84 Plus calculator. Thankfully, through software updates, TI can fix many of my complaints. If there's any major updates, I'll post in the pinned comment. Let me know your thoughts, and have a good day.